Alrighty, let's get this party started. Let's turn this up just a little bit. That's not what I wanted. Oh, there we go. Alrighty. Alright guys, so we are talking about different forms of mindset today, but we're also wanting to touch on the attribute of how TikTok really works and how to handle going into rooms and growing and all those sorts of things. So if you guys are new here, make sure to shoot the follow, tap that screen, tell me where you're tuning in from and what your passion is to get your message out on your social platform. And let's go from there. So how is everybody doing today? And what is one thing that you are wanting to improve on that is attached to mindset, that is attached to your inspiration and the direction that you are going? Roxy or Rosie, welcome in. How is it going? Where are you from? Let me know where you guys are tuning in from. Edward, welcome in. I see you. How are you doing, my friend? I appreciate you guys. Yes, you are from California. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So what is everyone's reason for being on TikTok? Let's start there. What is everyone's reason for being on TikTok? Kimberly, welcome in, welcome in. If you guys haven't already, make sure to grab your Heart Me. We have 37 people on our Heart Me team. I don't want to do that right now. So yes, you're good. Something different. Okay, so what are your interests? What are things that you're interested in that you enjoy that would bring you to wanting to monetize, even if it's for fun? Because business is supposed to be fun at the end of the day, right? Like that, I think that's the big joy of it. My passion is to help other people really start to see the better good of who they are and the way that they show up, because we can have the best product, we can have the best community, we can have the best everything, but if our mindset's not in the right direction, we're never going to actually go after our dreams and our attributes. We're going to fawn away from them because we don't think we're worthy, or that we have something to bring to the table because we see all these other people winning on a whole nother level, and then we down ourselves, so that when we come on social media, we're showing up as a total different person at the end of the day. And I appreciate your follow, my friend. So normally I like talking about life outside of the box thinking. I absolutely love that. You are from Rhode Island. Amazing, amazing. Thank you for the Heart Me. I appreciate you guys. All right, let's make sure to tap that screen and try to get us out onto the FYP page. That is our goal. So, I have a couple of PDFs that I have created to really, it's more for women, but it can be used for men. I've used them with my husband, and he's been immaculately successful. So the one thing we do a lot in the world is we're expecting from other people before we're expecting from ourselves. So learning how to set boundaries with yourself is really where I hone in on. I have multiple different areas. I am a tech wizard. I also have other streams and other businesses on the side as well. But on this page, I really hone in on the mindset aspect because, like, example, we want people to respect us, but we're not even respecting ourselves deep inside of our soul and in our heart, right? We second guess ourselves. We talk bad about ourselves. And then when someone talks bad about us, then we react. But we're reacting because we're already talking about ourselves like that. I know that kind of sounds crazy. So at the end of the day, like, what are your goals and where do you see yourself going? And what I mean is, what is one skill set that you know that you could talk about 24/7 without a shadow of a doubt? And what steps are you taking to kind of make that happen? I know we have a lot of doom scrollers on TikTok. That's usually what we come encounter with, is all of our doom scrollers. But yeah, at the end of the day, we should be wanting more than that. We should be wanting to try to become our ultimate self at the end of the day. But sometimes we get stuck in that cycle. And I talk a lot about what narcissistic relationships look like, because anyone who's ever been in just maybe one narcissistic relationship, it makes it extremely hard to believe in our actual goal and our mission and where we are going, because they put us in that box, right? And we're like, our whole life we're trying to get out of that box. Most people deal with a narcissist in their childhood, and then they end up finding that same pattern in every person that they come around. And so that's really what my power page touches on. And there's also an inspirational section in there as well. But example, if I want to get up at 5 o'clock every day, but I'm waking up at 8 o'clock every day, and I'm not disciplining myself to stay to what I'm expecting out of me, then I'm going to show up as a different person every day. I'm going to be mad that I didn't wake up on time. I'm going to constantly feel like I'm behind. I'm going to use words like I got to, or I have to, instead of I get to, or I have the joy of serving someone, right? And in the 9-to-5 mindset, a lot of us get stuck with that when we enter into social platforms as such, because we're expecting some type of instant validation. 9-to-5s teach us that if we work for a set amount of time, we will get paid set amount per hour, and we will be expecting set amount from a check, right? And so when we're coming online, it's very hard sometimes to understand that we have to bring the value. But we have to bring the value from ourselves, not from what others believe our value is, or the direction that we're going and how we're maneuvering and doing all of those sorts of things. So a great example this week is I took the last 2 days off because I had a hypno session that really sent me sideways. It sent me massive sideways. Trying to reconnect with my kids. 2 years ago, I went no contact because I could not deal with their narcissistic father anymore. And he was feeding onto the kids, and he was creating alienation, and I just wasn't for that anymore. And so we tried to do a reconnection through hypnotherapy a few days ago, and it just did not go well. It did not settle at all, and it kind of downpoured me. I had a migraine for 24 hours, and I really had to work through that. But that goes back to loving our younger self, right? What did our younger self not approve of, right? That we're going through now. So the body reacts in this really awkward way. Hold on, let me unplug that before my stand has a cow. Our inner child reacts from a place lack, right? A lack of love, a lack of companionship, a lack of want. What is going on with TikTok today, y'all? Am I freezing for you guys too? I feel like I'm freezing. Okay, it's back. Nope, it's freezing again. I think there's a TikTok glitch. Yep, I'm still freezing. Wait, weird. Anyways, learning to love our inner child because we're having some form of lack, and I don't know why this is happening. Very, very, very weird. Jesse, welcome in. I see you. So our inner child reacts from lack, but it's something that we're not conscious of. Too many interests, especially with tons of program invites. Yes, I can understand that. So, to me, programs are just the gateway to get to where you need to. They are the education that you need to be able to make your passion into a reality. I started out with the program myself, and I took that program and I was able to learn from that to be able to create my digital products, but to also practice marketing, practice how to use email automations, all those sorts of things. But I'm going a little deeper than that, right? Because the course is just the pavement. It already has created the pavement to get to where we need to. Our job is to come in with, what is our skill set? What can I talk about all the time without a shadow of a doubt? But then this digs back into the childhood, like I was just talking about. Because people see the fact you can make money online, and the only thing that they're focusing on is making the money instead of coming from a place of servanthood, right? They want to receive before giving. And so we have to give to our younger self. We have to give to the parts of our life that we never did before, including when we were messy in our healing, including when we were unsure of where we were going and why we were going there. T-Bone, welcome in. How is it going, my friend? Thank you for the roses. I appreciate you. So, our inner child, say for example, maybe mom and dad worked all the time. Maybe you never saw them. Maybe they were not emotionally intelligent. How would this roll back into our business? Well, if we were at some form neglected as a little one, we're not going to see the value of wanting to show up with our passion or what we're doing or the direction we're going or how we even see life on an everyday basis. No worries. Thank you. I appreciate the support. Billy Joe, welcome in. So my passion has always been that I've been a teacher by nature without a certificate. I don't really believe that certificates are needed, right? Because please tell me, how many people have went to college, completed their college, still have college debt, and are still not making the money that they said they needed to make, right? I know that sounds crazy, but think about it, right? You can help people in any whatever it is that you have and still not feel like you're coming from a place where you're authentic or that you love yourself. So my power page is going to start Jesus, I'm losing my voice today. My power page is going to start to guide you towards that, right? It's starting with the boundaries with yourself. Like I said earlier, what time are you waking up? How are you feeling? What is your body going through? And I know sometimes that's hard to do. You can go to Google and where's my book? You can go to Google and you can screenshot it on your phone. But I have a physical copy, right? So when I am having a moment where my body is absolutely going through it, and it is not attaching with my conscious or even my subconscious. Well, here's a bigger question. How do we know if it's the conscious or the subconscious? When it's the subconscious, it's something negative that pops out of your mouth like verbal diarrhea, right? When it's conscious, you're taking the time to think about it and go, is this necessary? Is this needed? And is this coming from a place of love or is this coming from a place of malice? That's the difference between the two. So I'm not going to flip my camera around, but here's a great example. So we go through the wheel. Like yesterday, right? My body was just totally going through it. So I was sleepy. I felt isolated. I felt guilty. Why? Because I tapped into something that I had not tapped into in a long while. When I went no contact, I laid that down because I needed to be stronger for my children than I needed to be stronger for the negativity that was going on in their world. And that might sound really messed up, but the only way for us to remove the problem is to think about the solution and not the problem, right? So your body can tell you something totally different. Like you can feel internally disconnected with the direction you're going. You can feel like you're not going to be good enough for anybody, including yourself. And so then you're going to show up discouraged. You're going to show up not who you truly are at the end of the day. And this is interlinked to our inner child. So we have to ask questions. Okay, what memory is coming up right now? What exact memory is coming up in your childhood where you felt discouraged or where you didn't feel good enough? for me, it always has been that I learned to raise myself, right? I grew up, my mom paid daycare providers growing up to take care of me, right? And as I got older, my mom just left me at home by myself. I had to learn how to cook. I had to learn how to clean. I had to learn how to do all those things on my own. So as a child, I was always looking for validation from my parents, and I never received it. I was never good enough. The house was never clean enough, all those sorts of things. So because that's the environment I grew up in, those are the men I attracted. Those are the friends I attracted as I got older. I would always purposely isolate myself because I was around people that never valued me as a person. And this is still a struggle to this day. I have to block energy from people constantly. So going into that, this is where we have to be able to sit with those feelings and not let it come out into the world. And sometimes it comes out into the world anyways. And that definitely happened this weekend for me. Me and my husband had to work through a few things because there was pieces of the childhood that were popping out. Like, still not to this day feeling good enough for mom. And having to really respect my no contact at some level because she doesn't respect me. And remembering and honing in and focusing on what my dream is here and what my mission is here to help you guys. I want to help you guys see the better good of who you are and who you show up as. Not because you're expecting something from someone else, because that's who you want to become at the end of the day, right? So let's go deeper. Let's go deeper. Let's go deep into a feeling. Ashamed. Let's go with ashamed. Why did I feel ashamed? I felt ashamed because I did not live up to the standard of mom and dad. I did not live up to the standard of mom's family. I didn't live up to the standard of dad's family. And everybody that I attracted made me feel the same way. So I never showed up as my ultimate self. I would adapt to the people I was around. And I see this a lot online too, right? Like, we want to be accepted, we want to be welcomed in a different sense, but we don't actually realize that we are shrinking ourselves to be like someone else because we think that they're better or they're doing this or that or that. But here, I want you guys to have that safe place to be able to talk, to be able to figure out those small attributes and kind of grow in a different way. So that's why I asked the question at the beginning of the live, like, what are your guys' aspirations? What do you want to get out of TikTok besides the monetization? Because monetization is amazing. But when you have your passion and you know what you're good at and you believe in it and you show up with authority, you're going to floor the whole entire world. Is it going to go exactly as planned? No. It's going to take time. It's going to take a minute for you to start adapting that authority and that particular subject. That's why niches are key, right? Like, I know a lot about narcissists. I also know a lot about parenting. I also know a lot about generational curses. I'm also really good at house cleaning. I'm also really good at loving someone that doesn't love themselves, because I've been that person, right? And I bring all of those things to the table to show you guys that no matter what your passion is, you can turn it to be monetized. But it's how we go about it, right? We're just not on here to receive gifts and subscriptions. We want real value at the end of the day. So driving back with forces of what lack really looks like, lack can come in the form of, well, this course that, let's just go with courses for a second, right? Because I know there's a lot of people in here that already have a course and are feeling discouraged in their course or in their agency that they have, right? I've purchased this course and I don't ever believe that I am going to see this 6-figure income, or I don't ever believe I am going to be able to make 5K on this app because I don't have this and this and this and this, and I'm not just like this person in this direction, in this direction, in this direction. So we're bringing all of this hate to the table, and then we're expecting to bring greatness from that. And it just doesn't work that way. We have to dig even deeper than that. So personal story equals connection. Know, like, and trust equals you telling your story and being able to bring the value to the table so that the gifts naturally flow, so the subscriptions naturally flow. When someone doesn't trust you, it's very hard to keep their attention, right? Whether that's in a piece of content or whether that's in a live setting. If someone feels discouraged or feels like they are being forced to show up, whether that's from their subconscious thinking or whether that's from like an agency, or if that's you, okay, the only way to win is if I go live every day, la-di-da-di-da. Well, yes, there is, but if you're showing up from lack every day and you're showing up from discouragement, tiredness, isolation at home, not feeling good enough, having a big one that I see is being embarrassed of your environment, like who you are around, all those sorts of things, and even what you look like. And I have been there. I weighed close to 300 pounds back in 2021, and it was because I allowed my eating disorder to take a hold of me. I still showed up on social media though. I still figured it out. I still figured out how to ramp myself up and work on those small attributes, because the goal is to show up on social media the same way you show up at home. And you guys watch me do that every day, right? I do my push-ups, I do my making my bed, I do my journaling, and I also do my coffee and my little spieels, or I'll take you guys back to a year ago or 2 years ago or 3 years ago on what it felt like and how it maneuvered and how I had to fake it to make it, even though I don't agree with faking it to making it, because that's where a lot of those lack ofs from childhood start to fall into play on how we are maneuvering in our everyday life. And the goal is to learn to be better as we are breaking the curse, as we are changing who we are on an every single day basis. So if we how would I put this? If we internally don't believe that we are an amazing individual, then we are going to show up from that form of lack. I'm trying to find a better way to describe it because my brain is like raffled today. How many people never felt like they were good enough as a child? Put a 1 in the chat. And put a 2 in the chat if you always felt like you were good enough as a child. Maybe it happened later on in life. That lack takes over your body, right? And you show up from a place of, even though people tell me that I'm good enough, I'm not going to show up that same way because inside my body, I don't believe that I can. So we show up to social media and we see other people winning, and then we give up, right? We give up as a full whole. One, rosy, nice. Lacks are very hard to maneuver through because until we can embody and believe it, that's where that justification has a hard time seeing. So, like today, I started writing back to my younger self again, my inner child, right? I wrote in my journal today about how we had an explosion this weekend, right? And we had to really work through our feelings, work through our emotions, because when you are still in contact with the people that made you feel less than as a child, you are then going to feel even worse as an adult because you have your conscious self and your unconscious self fighting each other, right? You have one that's trying to show up and be the better person, and you have the other one that's throwing a 5-year-old tantrum when things get rough and get hard. And that's where that goes into play with kiddos and all that sorts of stuff, but we're not going to touch on that today. But just remember that we are always coming from with your mom or your dad, if you don't mind me asking, because there is a difference in how our energy works with that. Not very many people know what NC stands for, so you are in the right place, my friend. Andy, welcome in. All your family. Ooh, girl, you touched my heart because that shit's not easy. Thank you for the heart me. It's not easy. It's messy. It is the messiest thing to go no contact. And some people think that it's like you're a horrible person for it, right? Even going no contact, those lacks are still there. And working with someone that can see past that and can start guiding you towards like the right way to feel. And there's no right way to feel, but there's a right way to process how you're feeling. How are we rampaging? How are we driving forces with the other attributes to show up even better? It's annoying and hard to move away as a neurodivergent from annoying family. I can totally agree with you. Stick to the plan. Welcome in, my friend. How are you doing? Top of the morning or afternoon to you. So used to going live at 10. No contact feels like the person is unalived, right? But they're still living, and they're living from remorse from you going no contact. But here's the thing. How many years did we give them? How many warnings did we give them? How many times did we show them the steps to do the things and they just refused to do it? And so we were showing up for someone that wasn't even showing up for themselves, let alone showing up for us. And the hardest feeling is the heavy weight across your whole body, but feeling like your heart is collapsed, right? Like someone just, every time you think about them, your heart is flat as a rock. And there's like no feeling, there's no emotion going through it, right? And this is why a lot of people don't go no contact, because they are worried about having to go back. They are worried about having to pay for their choice of putting themselves first and never seeing that attribute. But I made a video, it'll be going out after this live, that pretty much states the feelings that other people have for you going no contact is none of your business. And I had to learn this the hard way. And I'm saying it with nothing but love, because it's none of our business, because they are going to justify and create that smear campaign and continue to find those flying monkeys to support their narrative. If you've grown up in a narcissistic household, you are a flying monkey yourself. And this is hard to say because I was a flying monkey too, right? We protected them. We allowed them to mistreat us and abuse us in some way, shape, or form. And we hid it because we knew if we said something, we would get in trouble, right? So when we go no contact, we have to find a way to separate our feelings and emotions from the way that they're feeling to the way that we want to feel. So daily journaling, reminding ourselves how good and how grateful we are. But holding that boundary of, I'm not going to make contact with this person unless I have to, and it must be through email, or it must be with somebody else that is a safe place for me now, that understands what I've been through, that can help me maneuver through that before, during, and after. Because it is like going through abuse again when we go to talk to these people. We feel like we have to shrink back into that box. We feel like we're not gonna be good enough. So sticking to the boundary of, they're not gonna disrespect me. We're gonna lay out the rules of what is expected of this person during this conversation. And if they cannot respect that, then we walk away from the conversation. And I know that one's hard. It is hard to walk away from a conversation from someone that you love, but someone that has mistreated you multiple times over and over and over again. You feel like you are obligated to them at some level, but you're not obligated to them. They taught us that loving someone else meant loving yourself. But actually, loving yourself means that you love your flaws, you love your lacks, you love every little tiny small piece of who you are as a person, even if it's ugly. I know, I said it. Even if it's ugly. Because how was that evil person created that we had to become to survive through that? We have to love them. We have to say, you know what? I get why you were angry. I get why you had malice towards this person. I get why you would think you weren't worthy enough to show up for anything else in your life, right? Because of the simple fact that that's the only type of love they ever showed you. But we have to have compassion for them. Ooh, I know this one's hard. Having compassion for someone who hurt you? Are you crazy, Harley? What are you talking about, right? They don't know any better. Let's go from generation to generation backwards, right? If our parents were mistreated, then they're going to mistreat us. And if our grandparents mistreated our parents, then imagine what the cycle before that and so on and so forth happened. They don't know any better. They were taught to go to a job. They were taught to put food on the table. They were taught to You know, do the basic. Make sure the house is clean. And that's all they were taught. They weren't taught that children do not have brains of adults. They did not learn that adults are technically children in adult bodies. They have never learned those attributes. So we have to have compassion for them, but we don't have to put up with their bullshit. That's where the no contact makes it hard, right? And navigating those small attributes and learning how not to let other people in our life like that ever again. And that one's hard. That one's hard because they can come back, but they have to do the work, right? Going to therapy. Going to AA perhaps, right? Going to couples therapy. Finding a coach. Working on themselves. Like actually showing us that they're doing the work that they need to do on an every single day basis for them to be able to come back. And there's still going to be hard feelings because of whatever happened in the past. Thank you for the 7 populars. I appreciate you. Stick to the plan. And sometimes that requires that we write letters to them. So I learned this in DBT. It's called the Dear Man technique. I will have to pull out my big bejeebus book. I don't know where it's at to give a direct example. But what it pretty much is it is a letter that you are writing. You don't have to give it to them. But it is a letter you are writing explaining why you don't want to talk to them anymore. Why you feel the way you feel or how they hurt you. So that you can subconsciously push it to the side. You can set it down and you can let it just be there without it affecting your emotions, your feelings, and where you're coming from. And that's not always easy. Sometimes it's hard to write those letters. I know that when I had started DBT before I went into divorce mode with my ex-husband, and then I started DBT and he left me, right? He left me for my best friend because that's what narcissistic men do best. What did I expect? My dad did that. My mother did that. My grandma did that. My great-grandpa did that. Everyone in my world continued that horrible, nasty cycle over and over and over again. So when he did that, it was very hard for me. It shattered my world. I was at the point where in the beginning of DBT, it's called it's called a globe, right? So inside of the globe, you are supposed to draw a picture of your fantasy, of what you think life is going to be and what you want to work on. And I created that globe, and lo and behold, did I know that globe was already being destroyed. And it took me a lot longer to get through DBT because of that. But what I'm trying to say is that you can still love someone and you can still have conversation with them as you go through the work, as you learn to show up more and more like yourself on an everyday basis. Dr. Heat, welcome in. How are you doing today? So yeah, I'm really here to kind of help you guys start to see the small pieces, to put them together, to want to have that better life, to show up for you before you show up for anybody else. And sometimes that doesn't always happen in the direction that we wanted to. Sometimes we don't see the greater good of the situation because we are blinded by the feelings and the emotions that come with everyday life. That people think it's okay to mistreat other people. And sometimes it's even people in the online space that we meet, right? We meet someone and they seem amazing, they seem awesome, but they're still stuck in their past. Like hardcore stuck in their past. And then we minute to those people because it makes us feel joy. And it makes us feel joy because we have dealt with someone like that in the past. And we know that it's not a healthy connection, it's a negative connection, but we stay connected to it in order for us to keep growing towards our old life, because old feels comfortable but new feels uncomfortable. And so when we're meeting even people in the online space, we have to become FBI agents. Well, that sounds crazy, but we gotta understand what they're saying, why they're saying it, And is it real or is it fake? Is it authentic, or are they just doing that for views, likes, comments, and all of the things, right? And sometimes people don't see that. Sometimes people in the online space can totally put a mirror over your face, and they will do anything and everything for the next dollar, but when it comes to actually loving on you and showing you the direction that you should want to go, is like super painful. I don't know how else to explain it, right? And then down the road, this person that you called a bestie is now ghosted you. They want nothing to do with you, right? How do you deal with those situations? Because I've been in those too. I've had multiple people become a bestie, learn about my life, learn about me, and learn about how accountable I am, and then realize that for the friendship to continue, they were also going to have to change, right? Because we don't want to stay with people who want to stay stuck. We want to stay with people who want to stay uncomfortable, because that's how we win in this social media world, but this is how we win in regular life. If we do not have genuine conversations, if we do not come from a place of love, and love is hard to do, right? Because the connection has to be there. It can't just be sugar-coated, right? It has to be real, raw, and authentic. Someone reaching out and learning who you are and taking the time to get to know you is better than someone that just calls you their bestie every time you come into their room and throw them a gift, right? And my brand is bigger than that, right? I post on multiple platforms, and I repost all of my replays onto YT because I want to help people as a whole. I want society to understand that basic conversation, basic communication, and basic getting out of debt isn't the way to go. It takes a lot of work to understand what really has to be done. How do we face our spending habits? How are we spending money? What direction are we going? Because we can make millions of dollars, but we can also spend millions of dollars in less than 5 minutes as well, right? So it's all about the control. What do we have control over, and what don't we have control over? And who are we allowing to influence us and to guide us towards the stress and the uncertainty? I was talking to one of my buddies last night after me and hubby were done playing Fortnite last night. And he is going through some major GI stuff. And he's finally wanting to have a conversation with me about it, right? And I explained to him for the past, I would say 9 months or so, I have been on this high protein diet. Everything I eat is high protein. I have my cheat meal once a month. And I don't drink any sweet sodas or anything like that. I do liquid IV or a electrolyte drink that goes into my water. I drink 120 milligrams a day, and I have removed all of the BS from my diet. I've lost 25 pounds, right? I'm close to hitting 30. But it took the discipline. It took someone always kicking me in my butt and reminding me, and before going and eating, being, okay, well, do I really need this? How long ago did I just eat? How much water have I drank today? Did I work out today? Did I do my push-ups today? Did I re-regulate my brain before I did A, B, and C? And this is conscious thinking. Unconscious thinking is just going, oh, I'm hungry, I'm gonna order from la-di-da-di-da, and then you order like half of the menu, and then you try to eat it all, and then the next day you're mad and sad and frustrated because you're now paying for those consequences. That's where obesity really comes from, right? Is the fact that we are unconsciously eating, we are unconsciously having relationships, we are unconsciously driving towards whatever is comfortable instead of what's uncomfortable at the end of the day. So does anybody have that problem, or find themselves second guessing what they look like or who they're showing up as on an everyday basis? Rick, welcome in. Billionaire Susan, welcome in. How is it going? Your guys' usernames are so crazy. T-Bone, you're still here. Billy Joe, you're still here. Edward. So Edward, you were saying how you have a hard time with all these programs that you don't know. What is it that you don't know what to promote, or is it that it's too much information, or is it that you don't know what your passion is yet? I want to try to answer some of your questions because I don't usually see you popping in or popping around. It is so freaking hot today, you guys. It is so hot today. Alright, so everybody just decides to leave. Alright. Well, then we will just continue. So, Roxy, with the no contact thing, it's hard to see that when you are having a feeling and emotion with no contact makes you feel like you're the one in the wrong for going no contact, right? They don't see why you left. They don't see that they're a part of the problem. They don't want to take that accountability. So the question is, how can you teach them the accountability when you're in no contact? By continuing to work on you every day. I know it sounds crazy, but doing 25 push-ups every day is going to bring a different mindset to you. Maybe it's that you don't want to do push-ups, or maybe you feel you can't do push-ups. That's why I do crunches. But also just moving your arms, right? 100 times. Whether it's this way, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're doing even just sitting there, right? And just pushing the top of your body up and down. When your mind says, I can't do this, you come back with, yes, I can. Look at me, I'm doing it right now. When, say the feeling that mom threw me away to rest of the world, right? I'm not allowing myself to be thrown away anymore. I don't hang out with people that mistreat me. I don't hang out with people that use me and abuse me in any way, shape, or form. Those little small attributes are definitely key in that process. And over time, they will go away. The feelings will totally dissipate. But until we heal that, it's really hard for us to meet new people, which is one of the reasons why that I even now to this day wish that I would have waited at least 2 more years before dating. I would have saved my husband so much remorse. I would have saved him so much frustration, and we would probably be in a better place than we are right now. Why? Because I would have been able to heal the pieces that my ex-husband broke. I would have been able to come from a place of not blaming my current husband for the things that my ex-husband did. Superior, welcome in. And sometimes that one's hard for people to face. Like, people jump from relationship to relationship, and of course everyone at some level does that. But what we're teaching our mind is that we're gonna come from a place of what happened before. So like, if someone looks like they're cheating, right? We are always gonna relinquish it to, well, it happened before, so it's gonna happen again. So what we speak and what we think is what our world becomes. And then that's where the havoc happens. That's where the frustration happens. It's just like making sure you heal from your childhood wounds before having kids. Or being able to sit with them when they're having a tantrum, or when they're flipping out, or being able to have the coping mechanisms to show them, hey, look, I'm not leaving you alone, but mommy's unregulated right now too, so let's do this together. Let's sit here and clap and tell each other how great we are. Let's remind each other that we're not anxious in this moment, and make it fun and laugh and have all the fun and all those sorts of things. But we don't learn those things because we don't heal before having kids, and then we don't heal before getting into a relationship. So if we have malice towards our partner that had to do with our past life, what ends up happening? We raise kids the same way. And I did this. Straight up. I did this for years. And it took me a long time to be able to see it. And to this day, it's still very hard for me to talk about the fact that I don't get to see my kids, and the fact that my kids chose the narcissist. But going back to the statement of the flying monkeys, right? I was a flying monkey and I didn't even know it. And that took a lot to handle, right? I was a flying monkey for mom, dad, uncles, aunts, and then I got married to a narcissist, and I became his flying monkey. I pretended like he wasn't doing these horrible things. I pretended like he wasn't spending money in places he wasn't supposed to, and forgetting the fact that we needed diapers and wipes and all these other things, right? And then when things happened and fell out of play, and I was like, no, I'm done with this, and I'm gonna raise my voice and I'm gonna speak loud, well, he found someone that would give him what he wanted. So that became his new supply, but that also became his new flying monkey, because I was no longer his flying monkey, right? So he found everybody and anybody that would listen to what he had to say, instead of looking at the true factor of, I wasn't saying he was a bad person, because every person is great. They all have something to work on, right? So if he would have gotten clean, if he would have worked on healing his inner child, he wouldn't show up as a little boy. And I know that might be hard for some men to hear that might be in here, but let's face it, if we show up from a state of being a little boy or a little girl, we're not being a wife, we're not being a husband, we're not being any of that. We are showing up as this angry little human that never was taught to regulate in any way, shape, or form. Thank you, Virginia, for the heart me. I'm losing my voice today. I don't know why, but I'm losing my voice today. And learning how to heal that little boy or that little girl. It's not easy work. They are very hard. They do not like to listen. Happy Sunday, Ghost Mode. They do not like to listen to us. They do not like to drive forces with our conscious self, because we didn't get that love and that time and that affection and those small attributes that maybe someone from a healthy home did. And then when we meet somebody that's healed and doing all the things, Jasmine, welcome in. Then we have this like jealousy aspect. We're like, well, you came from a great family and blah, 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 this and blah, 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 that. And then you feel like you have to one up that person. And I use this statement a lot because I see this in marriages. I even see this in my own marriage constantly, right? Where when the little boy and the little girl come out at the same time, this is where toxic happens in marriage, right? You have the little boy that's over here, and you have the little girl that's feeling neglected, and the little boy is hyping himself up to be better than the little girl, but over here for the little girl, she's done some healing, so she knows how to show up as her conscious self, so she tries to start showing up here, and this little boy is now is getting knocked down, and he's not feeling good enough, and the little girl is feeling amazing and awesome. But what we have to do is we have to remove from this stance, and we need to be able to go here and go, we are not going to be doing this anymore. We are not showing up like this. We are going to show up as the best version of ourselves in this moment. Why do you feel anxious? How can you change the way you are feeling? And I do this constantly. This weekend after my hypno session, I really had to do that because I had a migraine headache to the literal point that I could not function. I could not open my eyes. I could barely text. I could not handle a phone call. I had to turn volumes down, and I was having nightmares in between my naps trying to go forth, right? And I was having dreams that really, really, really bad things were happening, and my safe people were allowing those bad things to happen to me. And so when I was waking up, I was having a hard time showing up as my conscious adult self. I was showing up as my little girl, and I was being evil and I was being hateful. You can't get more real, raw, and authentic than that. Telling you guys the real story of real life experiences, because this is how it goes, right? When my husband sat down and realized that he was dealing with the little wounded girl and he wasn't dealing with his conscious, healthy, go-getting Harley fucking Quinn, he stopped and he sat there and he squazzed me and he told me, you are loved, you are wanted, you're an amazing, beautiful woman, and I would never let anybody hurt you, and I'm sorry that that dream happened that way. What can I do to make the situation better? And so we had to end up making, well, I don't like to take medication, right? So I forced myself to sleep. I was like, okay, well, maybe if I just keep sleeping more, the headache will go away. It didn't go away after 24 hours. So I called my hypnotherapist and we did another session. And for the people who don't believe in hypnotherapy, in an hour and a half, this woman removed my headache altogether. She removed my headache, but at the end of the process, she made my whole body numb, right? Because that's how you have to be able to remove the migraine, through the spiritual energy, right? So by the end of it, we figured out what happened. I took on my own children's entities. So the little girl showed up because those were my own same entities from my own childhood that I had to deal with and I had to handle. But here's the thing. Harley doesn't want to tap into that side right now because I have a business to run. I have individuals here that are needing my help, right? And in order for me to keep showing up, I can't keep taking 2 or 3 days off, because then if you guys need me, then I'm not here. Does that mean that I'm not going to work on that? No. Do I think that in order for me to energetically connect with my kiddos, that they need to be somewhat on the same level? Yes. Because if I keep taking on their demons every single week, right, and they're in the same environment, what's going to happen? I'm just going to keep falling back into a box like the way that the narcissist wants me to, where all of his flying monkeys are now being the answer to all of the problems and all the scenarios. And I mean, that might be a little deep for you guys, but that's the best way to explain it. When we show up mad and angry because we don't get something we want, that isn't you. Let me repeat that. That isn't you. That is your inner child that wasn't loved on and taken care of in some way, shape, or form. Or from the abusive relationship that you were previously in. Or it could even be a bully from school. It could be a neighbor kid. It could be some booty hole that, you was going shopping. This is a great example. I had this experience this weekend too, where some booty hole just decided to shove you out of the aisle that you're looking down to try to find clothes to make yourself feel better about yourself, right? And they just shove you out of the way like you're absolutely nothing. It could be something as small as that from your childhood or from your younger adulthood. Anything little can trigger, and it can explode as a whole into everything that is going bad for you and that is coming out in some toxic way, right? And we don't ever notice that because we live in unconsciousness, like verbal diarrhea. Everybody has verbal diarrhea. Everybody, even me. Getting on a live gives you verbal diarrhea. I know that might sound really crazy, but if you in-depth think about that, when someone is doing better than you, I think I went over this a little bit ago, right? But same process. Even if it's your kids, if your kid is doing something at a younger age than you did, then as an adult, you're going to want to try to level up faster than your kid. And that's a narcissistic tendency, right? Because everyone is narcissistic. I want to make that clear. Everyone is narcissistic in this world. Everyone is evil in some way, shape, or form. It is all how we show up through it. That is the key factor. And when we show up from a place of grace for that part of us, then we are no longer showing up as a narcissist. We are aware enough to go, you know what? I'm not handling this the right way. I need 5 minutes. And you go tap, you go dance, you go scream, you go yell, you go punch a punching bag, you go punch a pillow, you go scream in a pillow. Those are all coping mechanisms, right? Because what you're doing is you're being there for yourself when no one was there for you when you were little. Even if it's just that you're the younger version of you, right? You are showing up for a piece of you that is coming out in that moment. That's where that anger and that frustration comes from. And until you realize that you're not showing up as an adult, that you're showing up as a child, those attributes aren't going to go anywhere. So if you guys are interested in any of my services, you can visit the link in my bio. All of my information is in there. I have my doc check-in page. I have my power page, which is going to get you to start setting boundaries with yourself. I also have the doc check-in call, which is a 30-minute session with Harley, so we can start to dig deep into one spot that you're really wanting to start to work on and become the best version of yourself with. And then we have the Unleash the Healed Wounds, which is an hour and 20 minutes. We can break it down into 2 sets. And then I'm going to come up with a game plan on things that you're going to start doing and creating habits on an everyday basis that you will get a replay for both sessions, even the free one. So it's something that you can look back on and be able to work through. My DMs, my emails, and my FB or my IG messenger is always open so that we can be able to video call or voice message so that it can be more personalized to you as an individual, and you can start seeing those better better good moments, because community is where it's really at. If we hide in a box and, as I said earlier, isolate ourselves, we aren't gonna get through those moments. We aren't going to remember the happy that happened in between all of the nasty stuff at the end of the day. Does anybody have any questions? We are at like the last 5 minutes of the live today. Thank you guys for all showing up. I absolutely appreciate you guys. I did want to touch on a little bit of the TikTok stuff, but I kind of really think that a lot of the things I'm seeing in this online space, in the group that I'm in, is really honed around the mindset, right? And I get it. It is very hard to focus on your mindset when bills are haywire, relationships are haywire, and the only person doing the work or changing is you. I get that, because I go through this constantly. At least once a week with my mom, at least twice a week with the court system and everything that's going on with the kiddos. Like, I get it. It's not easy. Having to sit with your insecurities and understand that they're not going to change. You have to be the change. And even when they show up in a malice way, you show up in a positive way, that isn't exactly the easiest thing to do. And having someone to back ideas off of and have back and forth conversations of you bringing something negative and then me bringing you something positive and then me giving you a new outlook to see it from, and then implementing that as a new habit every day, and me keeping you accountable to, hey, how was your first thought when you woke up? Did you do the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 method? Did you listen to something calming all night? Did you listen to your Hertz music? Hertz music will totally change the rushing thoughts, the negativity that runs through our brain on an everyday basis. It might sound crazy. It might not be a sound that you necessarily like, but what it does is it shuts down that frontal cortex that makes you just want to react or do, or obsessive eat, or obsessive drink, or whatever it may be that is the issue and problem. And it's really hard to kind of dig deep into like the work that I do, just because TT and social media doesn't like the things that I talk about. So I have to be very careful with the words that I use on here, even in DMs. But we do have a free community on FB, so if you guys are wanting to join that, make sure to sign up for my email subscription, right? And if you're not sure how to do that, just shoot me a DM down here and I will send the link off to you guys. But at the end of the day, we want to remember that we want to show up as our future self. If we keep showing up as the same person that we are today, then how will we ever know what our future self looks like? How will we know what she dresses like? How will we know, or he, how will we know that they have our back and that we can become our future self? Because if we don't believe in our future self, who we are right now is going to be our future. That's who we're going to become in the future. We're going to be no better than what we are right now. Gaming Custard, welcome in. Custard Tart, that is a very interesting name. Welcome in, my friend. Thank you for the heart me, my friend. And I work with all walks of life, by the way, you guys. I'm a digital marketer, I'm a video game streamer, I'm a mindset coach, like I'm a tech guru, whether it's equipment or whether it's software, like all of the things. I am the geek of the geek of the geek growing up when I was little and all those sorts of things. So my services are 360. And yeah, so if you guys have any questions about that statement that I said, shoot it in the chat. And I know it sounds crazy, but think about it. Look at yourself right now and be like, do I want to be this exact person tomorrow? Do I want to react like her? Do I want to dress like her? Or do I want to be an even better version of her? Right? Daily push-ups equal weight loss. Daily reminders before you eat food equals weight loss. Watching what you eat equals weight loss. Now, watching how you think equals a better mindset, equals more confidence, equals more authenticity and also authority in what you're doing, whether it's online or not online. If we keep hanging around the same people that keep mistreating us, whether it's online or offline, then we are going to become a worse version than what we are in this moment. Now, if we're doing those things and we're seeing the results and we're seeing the wins, then we know we're showing up as our future self. So here's some homework that I'll give you guys for the week if you guys are actually listening. So on Friday, right? On Friday, this Friday, we'll see who has gotten their homework done. The homework is for you guys to write what you want your future self to look like, what you want them to dress like, how you want them to talk, and how you want them to show up in life. And when you start reading that to yourself, and when you start believing in that, you will start to see the small changes in the way that you dress, the way that you show up, who you hang out with, and what you tolerate at the end of the day. Those are like the key factors to becoming the best version of yourself. Every person's going to be a little bit different, but again, until we open up to someone, we're not going to be able to receive help from anyone, right? If we're not open-minded enough to go, I want a better life and I'm willing to take step 1, 2, and 3 right now, right? Then I work with people on step 1, 2, and 3. I don't just jump up to level 16, right? We work down here, and as we gain your confidence here, then we slowly move up the ladder, because that's the key factor at the end of the day. So if any of you guys have any questions, concerns, or anything like that that you would like to reach out to me about, make sure to shoot me a DM here or sign up for my email automations, and then we can get started and get you moving. Also, if you are interested in starting a business based on travel, I will send you guys my new page that is just made for that, because I'm not going to be promoting that on the same page. But remember, you guys, business is about wanting to change, wanting to be the best version of yourself. And the only person that can do that is you, my friend. So I will see y'all later. Have a wonderful night.